Alrighty. Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining today. We'll start with myself. Hey, hello Aether and Sogni fam. Jay here, Aether's AMA Maestro, coming to you live on our Aether Eco account, and I'm joined by two amazing guests. We have Mauvis Ledford from Sogni and Jochem. So we're going to be diving into how Aether's GPU cloud powers the coolest stuff in Web3, alongside Sogni's most powerful most powerful creative AI protocol. It's a bit of a tongue twister, that one. But to jump into it, great to have you both. Mao, would you like to give us an introduction?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jay. Jochem, it's always a pleasure. Me and Aether go way back. I remember one back before you guys launched your token. I was super excited, and you guys have done really well. And so we're excited to be partnering on a bunch of stuff together. As Jay mentioned, my name is Mauvis Ledford, or Mao, and I'm a CEO and co-founder of Sogni AI. We're a creative AI platform and protocol for generating the fastest, cheapest, and most private renders. And right now we have been focused a long time on image gen, but we're about to dive really deep into video gen. And that's where we need the raw winding power of some Aether in here. And so excited to demo some stuff today, answer some questions, and yeah, move on.
Nice, thank you for the intro, and definitely we'll be powering that demo in the back end. And Joachim, would you like to give us a bit of an intro?
Yeah, sure. Well, I assume that a lot of people know a thing or two about Aethir. Um, so maybe allow me to give a little bit of context about how this all came together, because like Mauvis said, we've known each other for quite some time, and from our end, we've been truly impressed by the build, by the stuff that Sogni AI is building, and after I don't know how many conversations and a couple of in-person meetings between you and Mark, for example, we finally managed to get to the point where we could identify the right ways of working together. So I hope that we can talk a little bit about that, or at least share some alpha to the community. And again, it's a huge pleasure to have you in our ecosystem. Let's start there, because you guys have been building really cool stuff. And I hope to be able to explain later to the community why I think that what we're doing here is so cool. But yeah, let's discuss that throughout this conversation.
Yeah, definitely a lot for us to dive into in this space specifically. And Morvis, when it comes to Sogni, you guys bring a lot of that creative heat. So could you tell us a bit more about how exactly you see Sogni's role in creative industries? Like, why do these industries need Web3 AI services like yours so much?
The short answer there on why AI needs Web3, for me, there's so many reasons, but the biggest one is the DeepIn network. When you have a bunch of nodes around the world that are orchestrating together to provide value to the world, they need to get paid. And not everyone accepts a single types of currency. A lot of people want that value to earn that value of utility. They want to be able to vote. They want to do a lot of things that really only blockchains can do. And so I think DeepIn is one of the most exceptional reasons to have a token. Like, people have called Sogni like one of the most utility tokens they've ever seen, because Sogni represents tokenized GPU time, but it also allows you to vote in a number of other things as well.
Nice. I'd say that's quite interesting that you specifically mentioned it referencing GPU on chain, GPU compute on chain, similar to how ATH was represent that. But we want to just like take a transition onto your side, Joachim, and you see if you could give us a bit more context into this.
Yeah. I think that it's nice to explain, where this nice connect came from, because for me, I speak with so many really cool projects every week, and when you connect with people like Mauvis and the whole team, by the way, then you feel that they're building something, and you feel that they understand their industry. We've been talking a lot about what kind of creative issues they're actually solving with Web3. So when you mention like why Web3 and AI or creative AI makes sense, then the deepen side of things is important, but you're solving real pains for real people, and that's why there's a reason to exist. So the first reason why we connected so well is also personal. When you talk with a CEO that knows what they're building, They're not building anything that is, you know, just another agent or anything. Or they know what kind of problems they're solving, and they've been building for a while. Then then there's a human connection. And even though, you know, I know that we're in the AI space, and I know that in crypto things go very fast. In this case, you know, it didn't go that fast at all. But it was the human connection that, you know, really builds the trust that you need to be able to work together. So that's also one of my roles, is to continuously look for those kind of projects. The other thing that is very close to my heart is that Sogni is a really good example of how something like GPUs come to life. So a GPU, especially when it's based in a data center, that's, you know, how we grew big. For a lot of people, they're still maybe a little bit boring. You know, for me, it's not boring. I like nerding out over that, and I know that you do as well, Jay. But for a lot of people, that is just an infrastructure layer, and it is there. Maybe everyone needs it, but, you know, it's kind of boring. It is with projects like Sogni, where, you know, the GPU usage actually becomes to life, where our community and your community can play around with AI, can do all sorts of cool stuff, and no one necessarily needs to care which GPU is being used under the hood, as long as you can do all the cool stuff. And I think that in general, our space is now slowly moving towards the direction that that allows people to actually do cool things. And so that's the second reason why I like working with Sogni, because they're building that consumer-facing side of things, where, you know, where creators can actually get back control and build really cool stuff. We might be able to see a thing or two about it.
Yeah, exactly. And we can give a live demo of some of that. But yeah, Jochem brings a really good point in that what Aether is building is really at the enterprise level, and it's powerful GPUs for a cheaper cost, but, you know, powering like massive multiplayer games and all kinds of stuff. Where Sogni fits in is we're kind of like more of an indie player in the space. Not only do we have our own GPU network, during testnet we've reached about 950 GPUs, but half of those are in the Mac arena, M2 Max Ultras and such. The other half are like mostly RTX 4090s. We don't really have H100s and more powerful machines, because at this time we were working on mainly on image gen. But we build the entire stack, from the creative AI applications to the SDK to the Sogni SuperNet DPIN network. But what is interesting about the Sogni SuperNet is we call it a SuperNet because it's a SuperNet of our network and other people's network. Aether nodes can be in there, Nosana, Salad. Everyone can participate in our SuperNet if they're willing to host our image gen models and soon video gen models, where we need more beefier compute. So as we scale up, we can just scale across other GPU providers, like great ones like Aether. And so we're so excited.
And I think that kind of sets the stage perfectly for the synergy between our two projects, where we've been deep in the GPU space, and like Jochem said, they can seem a little boring, but it's about what you do with the GPUs that changes that. It definitely is. And now, you know, Mauvis, our AI community is kind of buzzing about all these NFTs that you guys have coming out. So could you share for us a bit more about how this ties into our partnership with the NFTs?
Yeah, great question. And our team is so fascinated by NFTs. You know, they were really great for a while in terms of, you know, art and collections and stuff. But I believe NFTs are the greatest thing to represent ownership and membership and stuff like that. We actually have about 4 or 5 types of NFTs in our platforms. Since we moved to mainnet, we airdropped 105,000 OG warriors who have been with us during testnet. We have artist badges who've won art contests and stuff, and finally we have this GPU worker license. And for us, you know, being one of the smaller DPIN networks, our weakness in having a small network is also our strength, because we put all our GPU workers to work. You know, and so what we've been crafting with Aether is this Sogni X Aether NFT to airdrop to some of the most esteemed Aether stakers that have been part of the community for a long time. We want to both reward those communities for being such a long time supporter of Aether, but also we want to expose them to what our Sogni ecosystem is doing. And so I think it's a really great partnership. And so this NFT is cool because not only will it give you some accelerated access into our Sogni Supernet in terms of accelerated render, slightly prioritized access when there's congestion, some discounts on renders. But we're going to drop the full list of features that this is going to get you, but it's also going to give you eligibility into our airdrop that we're doing on Aether. And it's a sizable airdrop that you can use the NFT to collect, which is pretty cool.
Nice. It's pretty exciting to see that NFTs are gaining momentum again, but they're gaining momentum in a completely different way. Like, as you've listed out, there's going to be so much functionality and just benefits towards the users that are coming alongside this drop that you guys are doing alongside us. And definitely keen to see where that goes. But I think it's time for us to kind of buckle up for the main event. So Mauvis, could you take us through Sogni's most powerful creative AI protocol with a little bit of a demo for us, just to show us how it's been shining through? And I got it right this time.
Yeah, definitely. Good job. And so let me share my screen. And I'm on a big screen here, so I'm going to share my smaller screen. And so on the right side, can you guys see it, my screen here?
Yep, all good on me.
All right, so we actually have a couple different flavors of what we call Sogni Studio. I'm on a Mac, so I actually downloaded Sogni Studio Pro. And there's actually two versions of Sogni Studio Pro. One is that's in the App Store that it looks just like this. And then there's one just on sogni.ai/download. This allows you to actually become a worker by just switching the computer to worker mode, which is pretty cool. We're not allowed to put that into the Apple App Store, so that's why it's a separate download. But and then we have a Sogni Studio Web at app.sogni.ai. So you don't even need to download any software to get almost identical system here. What's really nice about Sogni Studio for Mac is that it has access to your camera and a bunch of other interesting features. But overall, they're all like 90% the same. There's also Sogni Pocket on the iPhone, and we're coming out with an Android version very soon. But just to go over this interface here, we see tools like Midjourney, like, you know, you have your familiar prompt box here. We see Midjourney as more of like a casual prompt engine. We want to put like tools like Midjourney inside of Photoshop and gives you all kinds of tools, one-click access. So you can see here when I click on the model creator, I have access to over 100 different of the latest open source models. These are all open source licensing, and you don't have to worry about any of the ownership stuff. What you create is yours, and some of these have been trained on manga or anime or photo 35mm film. We always think that models specifically trained on one task is generally better than an all-in-purpose one. But saying that, the latest really great model is called Flux, and Flux. You can see here that we have 71 GPUs hosting this model here. So when I click it and I click off, what I did here was I just entered a prompt for our the one that we use to create our GPU worker licenses. And you can see I'm going to just hit 9 up. I'm going to hit Imagine. And you can see that it goes into our Sogni SuperNet, and it renders these generally in less than 5 seconds per 16 images. We can even do 32 images and 52 images here. So what's really nice is you can see the variety of the different works that we've generated here. And the goal of the Fast Worker prospect license is that a lot of people want to test being workers in our environment. We want to welcome everyone, but you need to be a prospect first. You need to do 200,000 renders before you're eligible to upgrade to a legit Fast Worker license. But it's cool that just out of this prompt here, I was able to generate these images. And then say that I really like this specific image here, I can go to guide images and I can put this in here, decide how close or different I want it, and then I could re-render them again. So for us, creative AI is all about ideation, curation, discovery. And the faster you can render, the faster you can get to that vision that you have in your head. So you can see now that I'm doing this guide image of 45%, how similar these are, except they're all slightly different if I go through, right? But I'm starting to get the look and feel that I'm really going after. And to this day, tools like Midjourney and and ChatGPT Dolly, they still give you one image or maybe 4 images in 50 to 60 seconds. That's just a crazy standard that the world is on. Like, again, we can give you 16 images in generally less than 5 seconds, 32 images. This will go all the way up to 512 images at once, which is pretty cool. And so if you're trying to do something like a 10,000 NFT collection, we're really like one of the only solutions that'll do that for you. And so I can actually jump straight into a collection that we did for.
I'm afraid he closed the wrong screen, but let's wait until we get back.
That was actually pretty cool, though. 16 images in 5 seconds.
It's ridiculous. It's very, very good. And the last time I saw the platform is a while back, and you can see that they made quite a lot of improvements already.
Running natively on Mac already as a separate platform that they're running on. And I'm quite impressed that you can just keep iterating and iterating and iterating on the images and refining them.
I wonder how we can get our hands on some of those funny NFTs that they just created live. I mean,
honestly, I was looking at them and I was like, I definitely could see myself using some of these. I think next time we should ask for access and not just a demo.
I think so. So maybe, as Mauvis is coming back to us, one of the things that I find really interesting is that, in our space, in the Web3 space, essentially what we do is very often we provide a viable alternative to what's already there. So what my hope is for Sogni is that Sogni becomes that viable alternative to, for example, a Adobe Creative Cloud, for example. So obviously, that's a big task, and maybe they can only become a viable alternative to some elements, but they're working on it. And you already see that it is already a viable alternative with the advantages that we have in Web3 that simply don't exist in Web2. A platform that you own together as users, creators, node owners, that's
everyone in the entire stack. Yeah,
exactly. It simply doesn't exist in the traditional world, and that for me is such a big reason to say, you know what, I'm gonna ditch the centralized entities and I'm gonna focus my efforts and my activities on the decentralized platforms.
And I think because that's where the future is going. But Jochem, this one has to come straight to you. Our community is itching for a bit of alpha. So could you spill something in the meantime?
In the meantime, I think that
going on right now.
Yeah, sure. I think that Mauvis kind of already hinted at it. So it's good to know that from a partnership perspective with Aethir, we have different kind of partners. So we have those big strategic partners. Everyone knows that we're close to Near. We do a lot with Avalanche. And we've done some really interesting things with iExec, for example, as well. We're connected to IoTex to drive that machine AI economy. So there's a lot of big ecosystems that we team up with. And the reason that we team up with them is mostly because they provide us access to a huge builder base, all AI builders, sometimes games. And in return, we give access to our community and to obviously our giant GPU network. So to build this GPU network, that's a big task. It's a reason why Aethir is so big. Now the alpha here is that we have a few partners that are ecosystem partners, and they came to us and they said, well, with your help, we can scale so much faster. We can do so many more of those cool stuff that we're building. And one example there is, for example, one partner that we announced recently was Project Zero. And they said, we would not be able to grow this fast without you guys. So Aethir doesn't really exist without a community, right? We also depend on our community. So what some of these ecosystem partners say is we're going to give something back to your community as a thank you for all the support that you give. So in this case, Mauvis already hinted at it. Besides the NFT that we'll be able to claim on Sogni, obviously, need to be there to do some activities. Besides that, there will also be an airdrop coming our way, mostly for or only for our AI community, so to those AI stakers. Not financial advice, but and Mauvis already hinted at it. But this is something that I find really, really beautiful, because it's a team that says this community is hardcore, all in. Average time that people stake in the staking pool is 2.5 years. It's a long time, and without them, we would not be able to provide all these GPUs. And these teams, they say, well, you know what? We get those cheap GPUs. We give something back to your community. It's not my business model, so I don't get any. Aethir doesn't get any. It's 100% Sogni to our community, and that's really beautiful. So that's the little bit of alpha that I wanted to share, and it's also very exciting. So this is some of the cool stuff that we do with partners like Sogni.
I'm sorry about that I dropped off. Did you guys see the whole photo booth demo? I don't know where I cut out. I might have when I started sharing the NFT collection. How far did I get?
I think you had just gone up from showing us that you could do 16 images to over 500, and I think that's where we ended off.
Oh man, yeah. So I was talking for a while. My apologies. I'll just show you very fast what I ended up doing, and let me click to share screen. Awesome. Did I show you the NFT doodles? Because I might have switched screens when I did that. Do you see my screen okay?
We have not seen this.
Oh,
yet.
yes. Oh, yeah, we can see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
this is new.
Yeah. Thanks so much for covering for me while I dropped off and talked for like 5 minutes. I didn't realize the tab had changed. But basically, what I was saying is Sogni is more than just Sogni Studio, which is our Photoshop style product that we love building. But we built this on our SDK, and we actually surface our SDK. So if you just go to Sogni.ai/SDK, you can see all of this is available. Anything that we've built, our audience and you, the viewer, can actually build this. And to prove our point, we actually vibe coded essentially the photo booth app. We did this in about 3 days, but honestly, it only took 1 day and then 2 days of polishing with like sharing on Twitter, etc. So you just take a photo, and then I'll just take one right now. And then the smaller photo I find is a little bit better. And then we run this through a model that's really good with facial likeness. And then we run it across 400 random prompts. Right now, I just showcase you doodles. So it's going to remember the last time that I did doodles and create a version of that. But you can see the name of the worker that is doing the job all around here, which is, Whaley and these others. So it's pretty cool that you can build anything you dream of, whether it's like helping you build logos, a tattoo idea generator. People can literally use the Sogni SDK, not have to worry about setting up GPUs or any of that stuff. It's all just pay as you go, which is pretty amazing. And so lately, we've been actually taking photo printers to events and just live printing photos for people, which is pretty cool. And we've actually also done a number of NFT collections for people here. You can see that there was a project that had this bear mascot, and it was the same boring bear, 10,000 of them. And we said, what if we can do 1,000 cyberpunks, undead, steampunk, and so on and so forth. So it's really cool what you can do with generative AI, especially fast parallel generative AI, which you can't do on the Midjourneys and ChatGPT dollies today. They'll give you like 1 or 4 minutes per minute. How can you do 10,000 NFTs? So that's the advantage of DePIN that we're bringing you with the help of Aethir.
And whilst also having it all open source as well, right?
Exactly. And what's cool is if you go to Sogni.ai on GitHub, we've open sourced the entire photo booth app because we want to show the world how to use our APIs and do this. And the only thing that's required from you is your Sogni username and password. so that you can pull from your credits. And when you download the Sogni app, and let me just go to app.sogni.ai, you can see this is the same web version of Sogni that I just showed you. And let me just log in as myself. And it's the same experience, but in the web. This works on iPhone, tablet, everything. And so I'm going to just render some clouds here. And you can see that these are the individual users around the world that are doing the image work, which is pretty cool. So we just want to make this super easy for vibe coders, programmers, game engineers. Imagine you're doing a side scroller, dungeon crawler, and you want to dynamically generate the graphics for every experience. Like you can do that with Sogni, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty impressive. What are your thoughts, Jochem, on this? Any applications you've thought of so far for this?
Well, I quite like the vibe coding, actually. I mean, we might be diverting a little bit, but I've been vibe coding myself. Also because Mark said that that's the best way to learn. And it's great fun. So I didn't know that you guys have built this, but I can definitely see some use cases to just vibe code cool stuff and build this in. So but I might turn this into separate businesses, so I'm not going to share anything. No, just joking.
No.
But the vibe coding side of things, I mean, for the community members that don't know what it is, effectively how I do it is I just use my GPT and a website generator and together with a white paper that I wrote a long time ago, I built something. And once I build this, it might never work, then I'll build something else. And it's a really nice way to, without any coding skills, to actually be able to build something that actually works and looks good. I think that eventually, when you build in a little bit more risky topics, such as tokens, for example, you might want to have actual developers look at the code because the risk is just a little bit too high. But for at least to spin up a quick mockup, for example, it's amazing.
And we've also integrated DeepSeek. So if you hit this magic wand button, like it's pretty cool because it'll take the gist of what you're trying to build and try to make it into like an epic still from a movie, stuff like that. So more and more, we're trying to integrate LLMs into the experience to help you along. We don't think AI is here to replace artists, just to have them get to things even faster. You know what I mean? Like, look at this. Like it even kept the wording and everything. And now it's like so much more epic with like glows and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. We're so excited. We're all like, imagine this stuff is like, this whole AI revolution is like 2 to 3 years. Imagine a couple more years from now, literally anything you can think of, you can dream up. And with Deepin, you can do that for pennies on the dollar without crazy high monthly fees. That's what we're trying to avoid.
And that is the true power of decentralization. But I just wanted to take this one and leave this one to both of you. With the NFT campaign and the amazing creative AI demo that you've just shown us, which I am definitely keen to check it out myself and see what I can build. But how do you think they'll spark new mind-bending dApps and experiences across our ecosystems? What do you guys think?
So would you like to go first? Or?
Well, I'm just stuck on the mind bending. I think that everyone who's in crypto, their mind is a little bit bended already. For me, what it means is that we need to play around with this stuff. Like it's no longer a pipe dream. It's no longer a dream that we're selling. You can actually use all these really cool features that you just showed in a way that is according to the Web3 ethics. So we are there. So the mind-bending thing is that it's no longer a nice story. Is actually we're getting to the point that, well, maybe what I mentioned when you were gone for a second, Mauvis, maybe we'll soon get to the point where you actually, to a big extent, build that viable alternative to the Adobe Creative Suite, for example. I mean, that's my hope for you. I think that's where eventually you might find yourself. How cool is that? That maybe a 3-year time span, we can build those viable alternatives that to the centralized entities that are out there. That's mind bending for me, and that's why I'm in this space.
Yeah, and there are some open source alternatives to Photoshop, and we will put a Sogni plugin into everything. We will put it into WordPress and
Right.
all kinds of tools out there. Because if you think about news agencies and stuff, they're all using old tech like WordPress, and they're using Getty images and other stuff and paying these expensive fees when they can just just generate stuff, which is pretty interesting. But in terms of mind-bending stuff, I believe that everyone comes with their own set of experiences and expertise. Like, I don't know stuff about the legal field or medical field and real estate. And one of the coolest examples of something I saw on Sogni, somebody was crumpling up pieces of paper, taking pictures of it, and then putting it through our advanced feature called ControlNet to create organic building designs that blended in with nature. So think of like organic buildings with like forests and other stuff. And it was incredible, like what you can do with this stuff by applying, these real world photos that he took of crumpled papers that kind of got him there to his mind, and then used AI to totally transform it into like future visions. And I think, like I said, he knows a lot about organic building designs and stuff, and he's able to apply that with AI. So everyone has a specialty, and they can use the power of AI to get that stuff done. What I like to say is, like, if you look at Pablo Picasso or Dale Chuli, these famous artists that I respect, all of them as they aged, they became rich and famous, and they were able to, as they are unable to create art, have like five or 10 assistants do the work for them. And now AI is a leveling playing field. We don't have to be rich to be able to access these tools. In fact, with Sogni, you can access it for pennies, and you can even download, like, Sogni Studio. What the coolest thing about it is you can download the models onto your own computer and use your own GPU power. It's going to be a lot slower, but there's no trackers, no moderators, no nothing. So everything that we offer in our SuperNet, you can literally just download, not pay us a single penny. Because we're built on open source, that is our gift back to open source world. And so we're not forcing people to use the SuperNet, but I will let you know that once you start using it, like, 16 renders in 5 seconds versus 1 minute per image on a MacBook Pro, like, it's time is money, and it's a world of difference.
Yeah, I would definitely say that, yes, time is money, and it does make a world of difference. And coming to a close with all of this, I think on both sides, Sogni and Aether have shown quite a lot of use cases and synergies in this specific one, but also there's a bit more of the creative side of GPUs. So on that note, do we have any closing remarks from you guys? Starting off with Jochem.
Yeah, I think that what is exciting for me is that, we've been talking about it. So that the fact that, we used to talk a lot about GPUs and our infrastructure, and we can now move much more towards actually how it's applied. So move the whole GPU side of things to the back, and we can show these kind of use cases that actually show how this whole infrastructure that people are building actually come to life and are used by so many great examples. I love the architecture example, for example, and I'm pretty sure that the architect that used Sogni doesn't necessarily need to know what kind of GPUs were used and how many and where they were located. It doesn't matter. It's about the output and no longer about the underlying infrastructure. This will eventually become the norm. So the deep in infrastructures that we're building will become the norm, and people will just get used to it. That's very exciting for me. So and Sogni has got a very, very cool role to play in that whole transition from focus on the tech towards focusing on the actual output and the cool stuff that we can do together.
Exactly. Focusing on the artist, and just, if there's one thing that I'd love the audience to take away from this discussion, is that open source is ready and on par with the closed source systems. Generally, it's like 2 to 3 months behind. So as soon as you see something like VO3 by Google and you're like, that is insane, just wait 2 to 3 months, and like, open source will be ready with an alternative that is the same or better. The problem with open source is the two things. It's just inaccessible to download off Hugging Face and compile and run. Most people are not going to do that, and if it breaks, that you got to fix it. They don't want to deal with that. So it needs to be easy to use. That's what Sogni does. And second, you need powerful machines, and so we give you access to those machines. So we're trying to level the playing field by bringing open source AI to the masses. And I hope that with our example, any other solution out there that is closed source and priority, people will look for deep-in solutions, because they said if it worked with Sogni and this stuff, maybe it'll work for these other fields where we have to buy these really expensive closed source solutions. For us, like DeepSeek was a real game changer. It really opened people's eyes, saying, ChatGPT's private model isn't like the rare thing. When DeepSeek came out and was free, it pretty much cut OpenAI's net worth in half, just because they realized the models are just commodities that people can download and own and run and share. And I see a much better world with that. That's less private and more open.
And I think that's definitely where we're moving to a world which is more decentralized, more open, more public. Like you said, the basis of all of your tech right now is open source. And I think that's just a great starting point. And just going to circle back for a second to how excited I am about the NFT drop that you guys are making just to the Aethir community. That's just another one we should be looking out for, and hopefully we'll be participating in that. But thank you both so much for joining today. Sogni has been sharing their creative powerhouse tech, and Jochem sharing a bit more about why GPUs aren't as boring as you might think. And it's been great having you all here today. So thank you guys for joining, and thank you to the Aethir community for tuning in. And until the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
Thank you,
guys.
Jay. Thank you, Jochem. It's been a pleasure.
The stream end. Okay.